Hello on the Rockers. On this episode, we chat with the man of 1 billion views, the mastermind behind New Rockstars YouTube channel, entrepreneur, content creator, writer, host, comedian, and thirst trap poster. Filup Molina is here with my guest co-host, actor Michael Vega, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass so that the drinks begin. The Latinos are in the house. Aye, aye, aye. It's on the rocks.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Oh, it's storming. It's going to be a bumpy night. The Golden Globes are happening. Buns and bows and pantyhose. On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. I just came back from Vegas. And if you're naughty, you know why. Check out my Instagram. But what happened to the days of, like, cheap Vegas with, like, a $15 buffet, a $20 shitty show? My first night there cost me $350 to get tipsy off of cheap alcohol and to get food poisoning. Thank you, cake vending machine. There was literally a cake vending machine in my lobby. You know how you come home or back to the hotel like 6 or 7? I was at that vending machine.
And it wasn't sanitary?
It was Cake Boss vending machine. I'm not saying it's his fault. But I did get a little food poisoning. Free diet. Anyway, but Vegas used to be cheap. You can see a show, do whatever. No. Even the prostitutes are more expensive. Alrighty. The coast of U.S., I'm warning, I am coming for you. I'm returning to my cabaret roots to bring you Unsung Midler, an irreverent evening of stories that are almost too hard to believe from my life, all true, by the way, set to the great but lesser known or performed music of Bette Midler. I know, so gay. We'll be at Oscars Palm Springs on February 3rd and at Green Room 42 in New York City on March 18th, both at 7 p.m. Head to OscarsPalmSprings.com for Palm Springs or Green Room 42 for New York. Okay, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. At On The Rocks On Air. Don't bother with Twitter. I'm not there anymore. And on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. The show is presented by Straw Hat Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Outlet.tv app. Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast for some strange reason. The East Coast, you lucky East Coast. They're like, oh, please, let's give us a storm. All right, let's get the show on the road. My co-host today, no stranger to On the Rocks, just a stranger to fashion. Michael Vega has worn many hats as an actor in his 25-plus year career. He's appeared in dozens of stage productions in San Francisco, New York, and L.A., as well as several TV film appearances. He starred in a short film for the song Cash Money Honey that won Best of the Venice Shorts Film Festival. Now, I'm telling you, it's Venice, Italy, not Venice, the Beach Film Festival, because, well, you know. You may have seen Michael and I on Judge Jerry. Yes, Jerry Springer, as he tried to sue me on national TV. He lost. Fun stuff. That was actually not a good day for our friendship because it was real. He was like really mad. Anyway, next.
Competitive.
Yeah, very well. Next week, he'll be in the Bay Area performing in the stage read of a new work, Cockeyed by Duncan Flaster. Please welcome Michael Vega.
Hey.
Okay, we're going to be talking about YouTube. We're going to be talking about social media today. I've seen your Instagram game really improve. Remember when we first met?
But wait a minute. In what way? Is it the hashtags? Because you're the queen. I was going to say king, but queen of hashtagging. And I get exhausted when trying to repeat.
Social media is like it's such a pain in everybody's side. And we're going to talk a lot about it and the importance of it. But like your post. The things you've posted, you put in some thirst traps because you know that helps the algorithm. No, I'm really serious.
It really does.
But this has been a turn for you because acting used to be as like, I'm an actor and that's all it needed.
Absolutely.
And now social media is a big part of being an actor.
Well, and it's really fun to just give people glimpses of who I am besides that, right? I think that's more interesting than just, hey, I'm in this, hey, I'm doing this, hey, I'm doing this. But I think it gives a little interest of, hey, here's me and my puppy, here's me in my yard, here's.
But be honest, it's become
toast.
A little bit more structured though, where you do give a variety. There are posts of, you know,
definitely.
for certain, like this will get attention because it's a post something that's fun and interactive.
It used to really irritate me.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You've come around.
It was very, me just like standing my ground because I'm an actor. and I would post something that I was doing and not get the reaction, and it would kind of hurt a little because it means something. And then, I post my left thigh, and then boom, 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 boom.
Honey, I don't think it's your left thigh. It's to what's a little
A little
right
to the right
it.
of the left.
Yeah. It's like, oh God, he's Jewish. Okay.
You don't know where I keep mine.
In his nightstand, it's like, thump, here it is. Happy New Year.
How dare you?
But isn't it funny that we all have this disdain for social media? We thrive on it. We need to do it. Yeah, we all hate it.
Yeah.
It's like going to the Abbey.
Sometimes I just test it. Yeah, I'll throw something random on there just to see what people are liking or will they like. And, sometimes it's not even me. It's like, a meme or something. And
Well, and like you collect art, so that's a part of it. You're an actor. You're in rehearsals. You're doing, a reading. You'll be out in West Hollywood. We see all of that. You like Star Wars. We see that aspect now.
And I will say it is important for, those of you who have people who do, whatever, their projects to like the stuff. Like, press the like if you, even if you
Everybody
remotely,
scrolls, yeah.
they scroll, and you're perpetuating the, the algorithm or whatever that is. Like
Nobody even
pretending
knows
like
what's
I know what the
happening
hell that
anymore.
is,
Yeah.
but press the like or whatever.
That could be our challenge to our listeners. Like 10 posts tomorrow that from somebody that you haven't liked any of their stuff, even though that you look at it.
Yeah.
Because we do see each other's posts. When somebody's like, I didn't know you posted that. It's like, bullshit. I know you saw it. But it's so competitive because if you see that they got more likes for something than you did, and it's like, that's just dumb.
And
it costs so little to like.
I don't know if it's for every creative outlet, but as an actor, we do get a little. Even if a role it was never suited for you, if somebody else gets work, somehow it's a little feels a little like you know where I'm going.
But
with that.
where I go with this show, because there's a lot of jealousy even in the podcast world. It's like if we all succeed, then we all succeed, and that's just the truth. Nobody does exactly what you do, and we know with casting now there is no right or wrong to casting. Like a role that's not right for you.
I mean, you can end up getting it.
I'm going to be playing Victoria's Secret next month. I don't even that's like a real person. Like she was once a person.
No, you're her secret.
Yeah.
Like that one has any secrets.
That is very true. Check my grinder. All right, let's welcome our guest of the hour, Filup Molina, wildly successful entrepreneur, content creator, writer, and the creative mastermind and founder behind the insanely popular new Rockstars YouTube channel.
Insanely.
Well, I'm just talking about nearly 4 million subscribers, 1.6 billion views. Filup is poised to make his biggest splash this year, by the way, with the launch of his upcoming new YouTube channel. Name coming soon.
No, it's good. It's named.
Okay.
It's named. You ready? An exclusive?
Wait.
We'll save it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Please hold.
Okay, this picture has no reason to be on screen right now.
Oh, believe me, it has plenty of reason.
All right.
Yes, I'm like, yes. But he's more than just a savvy content creator. He also thrives as a writer behind the camera and a creative director for his latest project, a new music video for the band Jukebox the Ghost. We're also going to talk about his writing endeavors when he was in college. And we're going to talk about how he got to that point because it's an interesting story. Let's just take a little brief look at Filup at work. We're going to take a little smidgen look. Here, let's take a look.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss. This is Filup Molina. It's Eric Voss and Filup Molina here with The Big Question. Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss. This is Wow. Filet mignon. This is The Big Question, folks. It's our weekly Q&A show. We're going to answer your biggest questions about all things nerdy and the computer. It goes. It's just a black light. It's like, whoa. Force heal.
Oh my God, stop everything you're doing.
And the wind or the sonic boom puts out the fire.
Liquefies the organs of everyone inside.
They can outlive all of us if we don't eat them.
I got robbed as a child. You're able to tell based on the sound what body part.
That's just like a little smidgen. And I don't know.
I was so bloated during that reel.
Oh my God, that's
when you
not the
noticed,
first
Ariel?
comment. I'm looking at these.
on-
I was literally going to say, look at these biceps. And oh God.
No, I was on. I have an autoimmune disorder, and I was on prednisone. And I'm just like, man, that showed up in my
That's
cheeks.
the first thing that you say for that. Your network, this amazing show, your personality.
Welcome to On the Rocks. Let's
Let's talk about bloating. You want to talk about bloating? Hello.
I mean,
My name's in the headline.
Yes, tell us about this food poisoning incident. Who would order cake from a vending machine?
It was 6 in the morning after no dinner, no lunch.
Naturally.
Another club.
Yes. So breakfast for some.
another
is what some
cocktail,
people would
another
call that.
cocktail.
Well, that was more like it.
You say, hey, there's a vending machine with dessert.
But isn't it funny, like, we're so conditioned in the entertainment that when we see ourselves, we're not paying attention to, wow, this is a successful network I created. This was my point of view. This is the comedy I created. This is my brand. You're just focusing on something we didn't even know about.
I mean, we knew.
I didn't know. I was like, girl, that's not
I
going to...
feel bad for laughing. You bloated.
Never feel bad for laughing.
Autoimmune
Laughing
disorder.
is our lubricant to discuss pain.
There's so many things about that sentence I make a joke about, but I'm not because I'm a gentleman.
I mean, it's the point, right? Make a joke. Laughter's the lubricant.
We're going to talk about your success. We're going to talk about the business side and what you have coming up in the future. But I want to talk about how you got there because a lot of our viewers are in the entertainment industry. And, you know, we're dealing with this younger generation where I'm going to come to LA. I'm going to become rich and famous. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to become rich and famous. And it's like, well, you need to realize how people got to this point. And so we're just going to put it all out there. Originally from Florida, there's a rags to riches story.
Back to rags. But FYI.
No, but I think this is so important because I think we're conditioned now with classism being so hyper shown. It's like, you know, the poor are really being shown, and there's no way out. There's just no way out.
If we're going there, I'm pouring another drink
please
immediately
do.
already.
That's why we put up Flaska. You won't
yeah.
see that at
Hey,
AfterBuzz.
One of us.
Speaking of traumatic childhoods, let's have a drink instead of deal with our issues.
Yay! Well, you started off with not a not so privileged start. You literally were at poverty level growing up.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
That's a definitive statement, right? Because poverty level is defined by the U.S. government as a certain line of income, and if you live below there, especially for a family of up to 7, then you are below the poverty line.
So share a little bit about that experience. On that note,
Yeah. Well, it's me and my 7 kids, and we're all posting thirst traps.
You look great.
You know, yeah.
You lost all the baby weight.
No, what is it? You know what's really crazy about that? I mean, like, a lot of people have that story of like, hey, I grew up poor. Oh, well. But my dad, he came from the richest family in Nicaragua.
Oh.
Like, literally, his dad was kind of like Nelson Rockefeller in Nicaragua. There was a freeze in South America in like the 30s, and all of the coffee beans froze over, and the entire world was like, oh shit, we don't have coffee, and we're about to fight World War II. They knew.
Yeah.
And so they were like, hey, where do we go? This guy in Nicaragua has a bunch of coffee beans, overnight success, becomes extremely rich. And my dad's whole family becomes very rich. They have an insane revolution in the 70s. And I only say insane because it is, you know, we don't have that style of revolution in our current time, but it is the kind of revolution that completely destabilizes the government, replaces it with communism, and they forcibly take my dad's family's property and money and everything, and they have to run for survival. They go to Miami with my mom, who my mom had already grown up poor, and they have to start all over again with like $0 in the pocket, grow up in like poor neighborhoods. And my dad's the only motherfucker that got to have. Can we curse on this?
you can. It's $10, but I'm
Okay.
good for it.
I'm not. He's the only motherfarter who had a silver spoon.
I'll pay it.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I got you.
And then the rest of us were like all kids sharing a bedroom. But either way, it was a very fascinating thing to know that like it was in our lineage, and it also shows you though how fleeting success is.
I think that's the biggest thing. I think our younger generation, they don't know. They're like, oh my God, I'm so broke. It's like, no, you don't understand. Especially like with the weather stuff we've been having. Now we're talking about immigration issues, that there's youth literally wasting away in the streets. Our younger generation, especially in LA, doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
They don't understand the struggle and how you come out of that.
And how it's a ongoing struggle, right? The concept of struggle is maintained, persistent battles, and that's what it's like, right? Like, I'm not kidding when I said a second ago, I was like, back to rags, because, yes, I've made a lot of money in my life. I mean, I'll say thousands of dollars, but
1.6 billion views.
well, still, I don't own that channel, and that's true. And so I actually, a lot of those profits were going to somebody else. And so now for me to invest in something for myself and build something new that I'm building for myself, that is me having to put all the chips on the table again and say, hey, this is everything I have. And like, hey kids, you don't need college, right? and try again. And it's fleeting. You have to fight for success every day.
But it's also that point where you decide not to become a victim of your circumstance.
Oh, never.
Whether it's money, whether it's a horrible family situation, whether it's addiction, it's that point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to overcome this. So I wanted to know, as a kid, growing up in that kind of environment, what was it that kind of you're like, you know what, I'm going to get out of this and I'm going to work and I'm just not going to just wallow in this.
I was the only kid that didn't go to jail at some point, right? And so that meant that like it was very like interesting where me and my parents would like sit down kind of being like, what's happening here? Like, why is it that we don't pay attention to you and yet you are actually going to school and you're not selling drugs and you're not doing these other things?
And you're like, being pretty is a crime.
Yes, exactly. I was like, please take me to jail. Yes.
I saw that movie. Anyway.
But it's also a Twilight Zone episode. I felt that I was just giving an example of kind of what not to do, right? But that wasn't actually what it's the concept of the the boiling pot and you're in it and you don't know that the heat is being turned up on you because it's happening slowly over time. I didn't know that I was living through poverty, and I didn't know that my like sustained oppression and sad childhood was not normal. Right. I thought it was very normal. You know what's funny is like I just had a flashback to a commercial like jetliner at some point crashed in a house across the street from me, and then the kids played in the rubble for the following like month. And to me, it's like, yeah, you guys had that, right? It's like, no.
I mean, that's making the best of it.
Yeah, but that experience. Definitely, there's this philosophical concept called stoicism, which makes you think that the concept is, hey, you shouldn't have feelings, but it actually is kind of like, okay, what do you gain by dwelling in those feelings and dwelling in those emotions? And that, I think, as a survival mechanism early on, you're kind of like, ooh, I can cry every time it hurts, or I can kind of just acknowledge, ooh, that hurt, I'll do something different now, and I'm not going to cry each time, and I'm not going to pause each time. And then over time, you kind of are bulletproof, you know what I mean? Like, you're impenetrable, and you kind of just sail through what to everybody else is like, oh my God, I got an F on the exam, and it's like, my brother got shot today, and you don't have the same scale for failure, but that also means that you have this like resilience that you just kind of go through each day. And so I have that right now. Like, being totally honest with you, I'm probably a little too real. I had a pretty intense day today, and we don't need to get into it, but
Let's.
Okay, great. Okay,
Have another sip.
You know when you're wanted for murder and you're on the run, and you go on a
I thought that
podcast
was
to
blood.
establish an alibi. Yeah.
I mean, I kill it daily, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh,
Turn his
yikes.
mic off.
Yes. No, but when you have that going on, so I've had a bit of an intense day, and I realized that, like, for better or for worse, I'm not behaving any freaking differently than I am had I had a great day or a bad day, because they're all just like days, and like the success is the fact that we get another one.
I was gonna say, you have your mind on like tomorrow's gonna be a different day, and we're gonna reinvent ourselves, and especially in entertainment, how many no's do we get? How many obstacles do we get? For some of us, how many years go by where there is never any kind of blip of success, and then it can happen, but you have to stay in it.
I've always said if I had pursued my acting career right out of college,
In porn?
23, shh.
Acting like you're straight.
Honey, he's not that good of an actor, believe me.
Don't let this voice fool you.
Even Helen Keller was like,
There goes my mind. I would not have had the humility to hear no. I probably would have given it up altogether. No, I might have taken no so much more personally. And, I really jumped into my acting career. I was nearly 30 by the time I really jumped into it, because I went to college for theater. I would have just given it up. I would have said it's awful, it's horrible. But I knew then, and I know now, that no has little to do with with me or with whatever you're auditioning for, there's a myriad of reasons it could be. You look too much like the producer's husband. You look too much, or you're too like the co-star. You're whatever.
Yeah, your value is not attached to that. No.
Yeah, your talent it comes into play, but it's not the defining reason why you might hear no.
And I remember when Amy Schumer hit the scene, and she was she was literally headlined as an overnight success, and she was like, you don't understand how many years. Chelsea Handler, when her show, and she was like, oh, overnight success. She was on that horrible Candid Camera show on WeTV. Really? It was so bad, and she was one of the first cast, but nobody ever talks about it. She's like, I cut my teeth. Like, that's what I had to do.
Well, it's like, look how many people came out of Punk'd. Right?
Yes.
BJ Novak and what's her face's husband, Dax Shepard, right? Came out of that. Yeah. Do we have Dax Shepard stories we're sitting on?
No, in my mind I do.
Well, you're sitting on Dax Shepard in your mind. I get it, but we're in the middle of the show.
I'm a power top. Anyway. Why are they laughing?
Spells that with an AH at the end.
Yeah, but when we look at when we like Melissa McCarthy, when we start to see her one-liners that she was in Charlie's Angels, nobody remembers that. And so you wake up the next day, and like tomorrow's gonna be a better day.
Yeah, or you know what, it might not be, and that's also okay too, right? Because that's not the point of your life, right? The success of the day around you is not how you define your own happiness. It's kind of, hey, am I on my journey that I want to be? Am I fulfilling the goal that I have for myself? My intention is the only thing I have control over, and I have the same intention, and I'm on a positive progression on it.
So when you were a child, did your parents create an atmosphere that was... So here's where I'm going with this. When I was young, I know my mom didn't have a whole lot of money after Daddy left and all that shit. That's $20.
I'm good for it.
I know we were on food stamps. I knew all that. But she created this atmosphere where kids at school thought we were rich based on how we dressed, even though, nope, it was just, she dressed us well and did what she could.
So earlier when your fashion sense was attacked.
Exactly.
It got deep.
When I was wearing the Miami Vice, roll up pastel shirts underneath, they might have been a $10 jacket, but it looks good. And so we never really felt the fact that we did not have a whole lot of money. So that was my question to you. Did your parents foster an atmosphere like that, or did you feel it really strongly when you were young?
It's tough. I think you, if you don't know what you're missing, you don't know what you're missing, right? And so you don't know what you don't know. And so I felt that I was very average, I guess. And I remember I used to say that I was very middle class, but while, we were in line for like the food stamp situation rings true for me. I only know that because ironically I ended up being growing up amidst very, very wealthy people. When we both of my siblings had been in a lot of trouble, we moved away and then we moved back to Miami, and when we moved back, my mom had one aha moment, and she's like, you know what, let's put him in a different set of schools. And there's only one white majority school in all of Miami, and that's a school I went to, and it's called Whitesville. It's not, but it's called Pinecrest, which sounds like it. Exactly.
Subtle.
Yeah, no, legitimately, it's the only school that's also like a Jewish majority. Like it's Jeff Bezos went to my same high school. And it broke me in positive and negative ways, right? I was 13 years old when I learned what college was. I didn't know college was a thing, and there were kids that were 13 and they're like, "What college are you going to?" And I was like, "Don't know that word. Define it. Use it in a sentence, please." But at the same time, it broke me the other way, where for the first time, I didn't look like most of the other kids, and also there'd be people like I wanted to date, and they'd kind of be like, "What is it about you for why I don't like you?" And like they couldn't put their finger on it, and it was because I didn't look like what they expected either. I also didn't understand it. So in some ways, it made me the other, but in other ways, it exposed me to the other option too, and it broke the cycle.
That's right. I had this conversation with my mom literally this morning. I was born and raised in Orange County, which we know is very rich, very conservative. I went to Catholic private high school, or school, all from first grade all the way through high school. My mom worked 3 jobs to put me through school because it was higher education. Yeah. And then I got to realize that the games my mom and I would play, like, let's roll up coins and take it to the bank.
Right.
I had no clue because all I remember was just having such absolute fun and laughter through
Right.
everything. But it made me cut my teeth. It made me build my thick skin, because then people were like, you don't have British Knights. That was like the whole thing for that. And you can't do this, and you can't do this. Although my grades were up there, and then I became, star of the Christmas pageant, and all the rich families were like, why is my kid not doing that? And it really does. It was a double-edged sword, because it does condition you, and it's like you're gonna fight for this, and you're gonna be fine no matter what environment.
Yeah, that's my, maybe it shows up in all my writing, it shows up in all my analysis of content and whatnot, is that like life is so freaking gray area. Everything is nuanced, right? Do I feel like I was punished sometimes by being immersed in people who had all the opportunities and wealth that I didn't? Yes. Am I super grateful that I grew up in that? Yes. Like all of that is true. It's all of the above every time. And it's so freaking complicated. And it's like, you want to be mad at your parents and you want to blame things at them. And you also want to thank them. And like, just that's also how I approach writing. That's how I approach everything. It's just, we are all consistently the product of good things and bad things, and that's why we also are just like trying our best every day.
That's so adult.
I am very old.
Girl. But I also want to know, being this kind of like, environment, you have such a handle on pop culture, entertainment. What kind of exposure did you get to that whole world as a kid?
I mean, were you guys not raised by TV? Because I was, right? That's like the thing for me, right? I've never had a babysitter in my life. To this day, I put out ads.
I was a latchkey
They say
kid.
no.
From third grade, I was a latchkey kid.
I hate to date myself, but Sesame Street started right around when I was a
Sesame Street
baby.
is how I learned English.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was kidding.
And I think
Okay.
I speak well. He's like, let me count my drinks. One a drink,
Yeah,
two
yeah.
a drink.
No, I grew up on TV. I had TV instead of babysitters, so that's why
Wow,
I know
and
pop
that's how
culture
you
so well.
learned?
But also, back. Oh God, I'm actually about to say back in the day in an earnest way. Back
My
in my
God,
day,
how old
Back
is
in
this
my day,
Yeah.
in
back in
1995.
my day, we had this radio program called War of the Worlds, and we were terrified. No,
Betty Davis was queen,
Yes.
and yeah.
No, but
Is your
I Dream
microphone
of Jeannie and I Dream of Jeannie, the Brady Bunch, all of those like super classic things were on TV. In addition
reruns,
to
though.
Yeah. On like
Yeah,
a Nick at
not-
Night or late night on Cartoon Network. And those things meant that you're watching things from the 60s and 70s at the same time they're watching things from the 80s and 90s.
100%. So I was a latchkey kid, and every day it would be, during the summer, it would be I Dream of Jeannie, and then they would play Bewitched. Then it would go to the
So many
Monkeys.
secretly gay characters, by the way.
Right,
Which
Pauline,
Darren?
Samantha.
Well, but also the straight characters were also played by gay actors.
Both Darrens, and they couldn't get a straight one in the two. But then it went to like the Monkeys, and it was just this rich culture. And we had a neighbor who used to be in film, and so he had a beta machine, a VCR, and he had it because the quality was so much better on beta. Then he gave me a library of 200 black and white films. So my summer companion, because I didn't get along with kids my own age, and you guys are probably the same. Every day would be a different film, and it was Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, and like this is the environment that I grew up.
Sorry to interrupt. I wish I knew you better. I don't know you that well. Are you a like?
You didn't get my bio? Thank you, JT.
No, I did get it, and I chose to ignore it. Do you? Are you a?
Didn't ignore my Grindr profile though.
Yeah. Double tap. Are you a performer? Do you sing? Do you dance?
I just said at the beginning of the show I'm going to be in New York.
Well, that's why
and
I saw the green room thing, and I follow that account.
Do I
actually.
dance? No, that is a
Yeah.
no.
Okay, Taylor
Wait
Swift.
a minute.
It's okay.
Wait a minute. Back up. Do you dance?
No, but I sing Taylor Swift.
Yes.
No, but I sing. I come from a musical theater background.
That's
That was
amazing.
my first whatever. But
You
not,
went out on a limb to do that, by the way, because that certainly was not. There's not a lot of examples of us out there.
You
well,
won a
especially
court
when-
case
when
based on
I-
dancing.
Well, that's true. I tap dance on national TV, fakely. But that's exactly true. When I was a kid growing up, I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna, I can do West Side Story in repeat, and that's about it. Because
Because they have Hispanic characters. Yeah, and so you could not play anybody else. This is the feeling of me watching Avengers Endgame, and I'm like, oh my god, all the characters are on screen at once, and all
Stop.
the Hispanics are blue. And then I was like, man, maybe they can get Luis from Ant-Man up there or something. It was like
You know-
100 characters.
or Lin-Manuel to just go and be like,
It
Yeah.
only occurred to me recently, Philip. I'm a super geek. Like I still collect.
Not where it counts, though. Not Star Trek.
Oh, I thought you meant like in the bedroom or something.
no.
Not where it counts.
You know, I'm wearing.
Yeah, he's Yoda in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Oh.
Tight, I'm not.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Where did the show go, by the way? I told you at the beginning. I was like, we don't know those.
Yeah.
I'm an Uber geek,
hey,
so,
you know, the bedroom is not a place for the Force. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I realized very recently, and I've been collecting comics since I was a kid, and I did not realize very early the groups of superheroes like the Justice League and everything that
Titans.
it was all white. And usually you would have like Red Tornado, and because he was an android, he was red, but he was the thing of color in the group.
Right.
And this is only something that occurred to me recently, and so yeah. And
I
I cried during.
Maridueña is about to play a Hispanic Blue Beetle in
Yep.
for DC.
Do you know who I talked to today?
Who?
Harvey Guillen.
Who's that?
He's a presenter at the Golden Globes. He's on What We Do in Shadows. He's in
yes,
Blue Beetle.
Yeah. It's very exciting, except they're completely rebooting the DC universe. So actually, that character is not going to
Again.
matter in 6 months.
I think it's in better hands now, though.
Well,
Don't you
but
think?
they nixed Wonder Woman 3. That was the best thing they could do. Because did you
They
see Wonder
didn't-
Woman 1984?
Yes.
But they're still letting Ezra Miller play the Flash.
That's a complicated one, right? Because they here's the real reason a lot of people. Okay, so for those of you that are listening that are like, who the hell is this guy and why won't he shut up and what race is he really? I'm Hispanic, but also
I did ask that. But.
Yeah. The question there, a lot of people are like, how is it that you replaced Henry Cavill and you don't replace Ezra Miller? And the thing is, well, Ezra Miller has a movie that's about to come out, so it really doesn't make a lot of sense to say, by the way, this movie doesn't matter, don't go watch it. So there's a theory that he is not going to continue as the Flash, but they can't say that until the movie comes out.
That
Absolutely.
is something I reported the exact opposite of today because the rumors are with people in the know that he's going to continue in the universe.
I'm fine with it, honestly. I'm just wishing luck to James Gunn. You know, it's just like
It's
Oh,
James
too.
Gunn. You know, he brings sincerity to his projects. He's going to be fine.
Well, I think
gonna be great.
the difference
DC
is
needs
that
some
James Gunn
sincerity and
has
some-
that Marvel sensibility where there is a sort of through line, where they have a plan, where it's like in 10 years, because that's what Marvel did really well is the connective tissue between, everything.
I'm sorry. I hate Marvel films. I'm sorry.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
you and one other person.
I could have been on the red carpet at the Golden Globes, but I came here.
It's not red
Now?
carpet. Well, if you were in the know, it's a gray carpet this year.
Oh, is it really?
It really is.
Why is that?
Everybody
The
wants
rain?
to know. I think they couldn't afford the red carpet. Hollywood
to
Foreign
pay
Press is
for
like,
it,
just
yeah.
please come to our show.
Not gray. It's just rain.
And then every presenter now is a person of color, which I think is going way on the opposite side.
You know what, though? Okay, let's fight about it.
Don't get me started on forced wokeness.
I am on the side of forced wokeness because I think you have to overshoot it in order to settle in the middle.
Oh, I better not do that.
Well, you would do a white power symbol? Is that what you held up
Don't
an
even
arm?
say that. We have to
You
delete
held-
this.
you
No,
held
I
up
was
your
doing it.
arm.
Maybe
I couldn't
to
tell what
you
you were about
because
to
that's your
do.
fam. No, I was going to do an arm
Oh,
wrestle. But then I saw your
arm wrestle,
biceps, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Don't do that. No, I do think that it's like why we have to. I was just talking about this today. Actually, it's like yes, I don't want us to have a person of color play James Bond or Superman. But I specifically need it to be the people that you consider stereotypically white. The archetypical white person should not be assigned to just because, like, oh, well, James Bond is always white or Superman is always white. I was like, no, that's the part that we need to break. They always say, well, why don't you just have your own hero? And it's like, because you always think of them as that other hero.
Because well before wokeness,
you're talking
we had to watch that and
You guys
see.
are talking about comic book characters that can be anything. Like in Star Trek, you can be anything. But I'm talking about the forced wokeness that's happening in Hollywood. It's like now we need racially diverse casting, so we're casting people as prince or princesses in the 1700s, which would never, or casting people as brother and sister that are clearly not brother and sister. But it doesn't come from a sincere place. If it comes from a sincere place, and we're seeing this on Broadway a lot, by the way, we're just checking boxes, and it's like there's no.
But all white
emotional thought
all white
behind
cast
it.
did not come from a sincere place. It came from we're not casting a brown or black person. You
Some
know,
options,
so yeah. So now
I think you're right that it's an overcorrection. I just think it's because it's going to swing back the other way that we're purposely overcorrecting, right? So that we can okay, great, we landed it somewhere where at least we get featured in prominent roles.
Okay, but let me say this. And I know I'm not in the majority here. We're in such a delicate position in our nation. We should, in my opinion, we should be building bridges, and that doesn't mean forcing wokeness down people's throats that are angry at us already. The way to build bridges is to communicate and not be on this platform that we're not even.
But don't you
talking
think
to
at
people.
first that you need it down your throat so you realize what you have to deal with?
I see it. Just if you guys are only listening to the audio, you got to see Alex's face right now. But
I'm like a 1920s actor. It's all my the beta
it's a
machine.
silent pub. Yeah. I will quickly throw out there that yes, there's so much nicer to you when you lick the boot.
I don't even know what that means.
That means that
Yeah,
yes, you can build a bridge and you can say, hey, don't worry, I'm not gonna make you feel like you're being oppressed because I know that you're still in charge. Instead, it's like, no, I want you to feel that you are diminished for a moment so that we can land in the middle, so that either of us are.
It's aggressive. Why don't we just
options.
worry about creating great content from our community with our community? You know, we had a movie like Bros come out, and we had somebody involved yelling at everybody for not going to see that. It was like, well,
I
make
saw
a
that,
good
yes.
film to begin with, and then I'll go see it.
Yes,
But he turned it into this attack
A big
on-
issue with Bros, right, is that they made it about bros. They made it about the fact that it's two gay male
Yeah, it
leads,
wasn't-
and it was
that
like,
wasn't a
okay,
very woke movie
just,
at
it was,
all.
it was as good as any other rom-com, but why did you
Yeah.
make it about the fact that it's two gay leads?
And I'm sorry, a straight couple wouldn't just go see that to go see it.
I
Remember
think
when it wasn't
straight
that
people
funny?
saw it more than the
That's
gays I know.
100% true.
Yeah.
Well, we have a hero that's annoying to listen to. Can you imagine somebody with a high voice that's the star of something?
Never.
Nails on chalkboard.
Never.
Yeah.
Never succeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to your career. We got off the track. I want to know what it was like being able to kind of leave that environment and then go to college and start kind of fresh. And there, you really like studied your writing was really important to you. But I know, like, you just being able to.
Yeah, it was it's same thing, right? It's always gray, which is complicated for you because that's a sign of a mixing of colors, and apparently you don't like that. But I'll say that it was complicated because I didn't feel welcome, right? One of the first times I went out at the University of Florida, I met this girl, and I leaned in and I gave her the Miami kiss, which is the kiss on the cheek. And immediately this guy jumps at me, and a bunch of guys have to hold it back. And they're like, you just kissed his girlfriend. And I was like, that is literally a hello in my culture.
It was a cultural thing.
Yeah. But I mean, all these guys in camel hats were coming at me, and I could not tell where the tops of their heads were, but I could tell where their fists were. And then I did improv, and I did a lot of sketch comedy, and yet the people who there were, yes, it was predominantly white, but they showed me like, hey, I could be writing and creating commentary through my writing. And the first person, I did a lot of sketch, but the thing that was probably maybe more game-changing for my career is that I had a white friend who had the privilege of having wealthy parents, and they were able to fund a project for him, but we co-wrote a movie together, and that movie got into Sundance somehow, even though we were still in college when we wrote it. And that was not an option that I would have had if I had stuck at the, Florida International University or Miami-Dade Community College or something. That was me. I think that actually is the right way to use privilege, right? Which is to extend a hand over the edge and pull somebody up. And so that is where I got to, yes, slightly cut my teeth on writing, though I think I learned a lot more in LA. But also, it got complicated, right? I fell in love with people who had never met a person who wasn't white in their life. And I also gained opportunities that were not available to people in Miami, but I also felt very proud of the fact that I didn't look like those people while I was leading those people.
To your point, there's also a fact that talent speaks for itself, too. So, not to name drop,
Yes.
last week I got to interview Chita Rivera, which, almost made me die. And I asked her, I said, you were a Latina way back before diversity was even a thing. And her first show wasn't West Side Story, by the way. Her first show was Call Me Madam with Elaine Stritch, and she got it at the age of 18. And it wasn't Latina-based, whatever. Some of the other roles she's played are not Latina-based at all. And I said, growing up, did you ever think that you were just that's all you were going to play? And she's like, no, I didn't think about it. So my talent spoke for itself. And
Yeah.
people just responded to that. So nobody cared. Sweet Charity, nobody was like, we need a Latina prostitute to play this. She's like, no, everything I did Well, except for Bye Bye Birdie. But you know what she was saying is like, I didn't limit myself. My talent spoke for myself. Why would I limit myself? The way she was like, I was the idiot interviewer. But it made sense.
But do you
we're
think,
talking about from somebody.
But do you think her agents and stuff presented her forwardly as a Latina presenting a talent, or do you think her
talent spoke for itself?
But did her representation purposely make that vague? Like, did she get, because she isn't very dark skinned, right? Could that have been
well, to your
shadowed
point, I would
a
say
little
you're
bit?
also not dark skinned, but
Well,
I don't think that was it.
I'm wearing bronzer. Stop it.
No, but she was 18. She went to an audition for Call Me Madam with her friend, and the producer, hey, do you sing? And so she performed, and she got the part over her friend, and then she was in her first Broadway show. Then came Guys and Dolls, and then came a show with Sammy Davis Jr., and then West Side Story.
Right.
But then her next role wasn't about her being a Latina.
Which is the goal, right? Everybody wants that to be the goal, but notice also that her talent needed to be probably 1.5 or 2 times as good as anybody else's. Now,
that's interesting.
I do appreciate
you can't just be talented.
that.
You have to be like
you have to kind of be like, I mean, we know she's brown, but she's still good. Like we need to go past that. That said, I don't hate that kind of motivation. I actually have thrived on it, where it's kind of like, oh, okay, I need to do 150%. Great, that's my bar. And so even if it's the really cheesy, like, shoot for the stars and you'll
end up at the moon.
Land on Mount Everest or something, whatever it is. I still want. That's what they say, isn't it?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
With the other corpses.
Yeah, but I kind of like that, right? Where it's like, I've never had an issue. I used to, when I moved out to LA, there's a very prominent, so I did like 15 years of improv comedy. When I moved out to LA, that scene is the scene that is one step before being on Saturday Night Live.
100%.
And that means that to be on Saturday Night Live, I will not even remotely call it racist or anything. It is just, they have a formula and they need to look for certain people who can play a variety of parts. And they need certain skills. And they have their own way, and they right now there's a lot of
what's coming.
A lot of coming here. But what I actually feel is that if my talent is a certain level, it doesn't matter, and that's what I appreciated, was the fact that I had no part of me that was like, oh, if only I was the funny black guy, or if only I was the one that could do impressions. It was more like, hey, look, like, insane talent pays off there. Or, you know what? A lot of people that didn't make it to SNL, they became famous in some other way because their insane talent was there.
Or they were there for a brief time and they were like, you know what, I can do this separately. Okay, but I'm going to just say, the casting announcement for last year's SNL, this year's at SNL, were like, person of color, gay, bi, non-binary. It's like, that's the headline? Are they funny? Then you watch the show. Nope.
Don't you worry that there's a chance that you're just becoming out of touch? Because SNL has never. I know that's offensive.
I don't know comedy.
I've never seen your mouth wider, but we barely know each other aside from the Grindr experience. But I will say that SNL, it's a famous chorus, right? Oh, it was so much funnier when blank.
I see what you're saying.
By the way, neither of you have refilled your drinks, and I'm on my 3rd refill of my drink.
You don't know what's going on over here, boo.
No. Oh, is there crystal meth in yours? What is the difference?
Does it look like I do crystal meth? Like, I love when I go to a holiday party and they're passing Coke and like, hey, and I'm like, doesn't look like I do
He ate
Coke.
cake from a vending machine.
Yes, exactly.
And I drink wine from a box.
Wine from a box.
So, okay. There's so much. I think we need like a whole other show about
I want to throw out there really quick, my goal, by the way, in this is to make you sing by the end.
Oh, not after this.
No, I know, but also if you get enough drinks into you, I'm sure you will.
Well, and I'm for my unsung Midler, I'm singing some of her stuff that she sang at the bathhouse.
The bathhouse? What does
That's
that
how
mean?
she got her career.
What is it? What do you mean by when you say the bathhouse?
She sang at New York bathhouses, and her piano player
With
was
Barry
Barry
Manilow.
Manilow. Barry Manilow produced her first debut. Her early fans were the gays that were going to the
Help me
bathhouses
understand.
in New York City.
Do you mean bathhouses as in like
bathhouses.
low-key gay sex clubs, but before
Not
they were
low-key.
gay sex clubs?
Bathhouses
Well,
in New York.
there were
in
sex
the
clubs
70s.
before there were sex clubs.
That's how she became famous. Was she was like, you know what? I want to sing. This
Bette
audience loves
You
me.
can find
And
go on
Barry
YouTube. You can find
Manilow.
some very old, like
I
very
bet I can't
grainy
find what
video.
I'm picturing on YouTube. I bet it's not
It-
there.
It's not like going to Hollywood
Xtube.
Spa or anything like that. But they were very. Not that I've ever been there, Mom.
But she
You,
gave
you named a very specific
Right,
place.
well,
yeah.
at 8400
no longer
Melrose
there.
Avenue.
Yes, exactly.
No,
That's
but her
Melrose
performance,
Spa.
but she would just give the performance. She's like, this is an audience. I want to sing this music. And that's how she got her body brassy. And then, of course, Barry Manilow. I mean, they've been inseparable until the last album. And she's like, that's why she loves the gays. And that's why she's like,
She did live
entertainment.
performances in,
Every
in
night she was
essentially
in
gay
the
sex
bathhouse.
clubs.
Yeah, they were in their towels, but her performance was so mesmerizing. Everybody literally would come just to see Bette Midler sing. And then
They
from
would
there
come
she
for a
got-
couple reasons, but
Well-
I'm sure that's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that affected him.
yeah, you might want to limp real
Yeah.
quick.
Sorry.
Well, a woman in a bathhouse. Come on.
I mean, I know you dress like a lesbian, but still. But then
Mommy
she
doesn't
got,
mean that.
But then she got the rose, and then we know the rest is history.
I don't know the. This is
Oh, you're only
this
bi.
is blowing
No.
my mind.
This
That's
is-
true.
This is the other side.
Okay, great. Here come the attacks from the gays on the bis.
No, we're gonna talk about this. We need to get back to your career. We're getting way off track.
This is part of my career.
Well, okay, but we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about why we need to talk about it. But I want to talk about your
go for it.
relationship
Why?
with YouTube. Relationship with YouTube
Complicated.
started, but it started almost 10 years ago. And we're like, 10 years ago is not
I was 5 years old.
that long.
Don't laugh at that.
Fimo knows,
Okay.
your first channel,
Yes, my first channel.
your first relationship with YouTube.
Yes.
What inspired you to be like, okay, I'm going to enter YouTube? And we're talking about YouTube 10 years ago, by the way.
Yeah, more than 10 years ago at this point. I knew that, here's the craziest thing. I was in college. I make this movie that gets into Sundance. The co-star of this movie, so not the lead, the secondary star, is this very funny guy at the University of Florida. He goes out to LA ahead of the rest of us, and he becomes a famous YouTuber. And the rest of us are like, that's not a thing. We don't know what that is.
Because we're talking 10 years ago. It was
Right.
like, it's a joke.
And I still remember my friend Ryan was like, no, I don't think you get it. That means he's a millionaire now. And he really was. And so when I moved out here, it's like I'm knocking on his mansion door. And I'm like, hello, I would like to be a millionaire. Do you remember me? And he was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. You wrote a lot of jokes for the movie that I was in. And at the time, I was fixing computers for a living. And he was like, okay, cool. So what have you done on YouTube? And I was like, I think I thought it was Dropbox, so I uploaded some files. Like that's what I did on YouTube. But that's also how everybody was using YouTube at the time. It was just like you would just treat it like Google Drive or something. And so I specifically make Fimo Knows as a YouTube channel to show off my video skills. I still have it to this day. And literally today I wrote a script that was too aggressively obsessed with being like ahead of what it should be. And what I mean by that is that when I did Fimo Knows, I was like, okay, there's the advice to somebody who's new on YouTube, and then there's people who've been doing it for a year, and there's people who've been doing it for 5 years. And I was like, I want to look like I've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. So the very first videos I put up on this Fimo Knows channel, which had this very convoluted concept of it's the post-apocalypse, the AI and robots have won, and I'm the last human alive because I was like, I don't know, I like robots.
And
so
you
I
love
set it
AI.
up. Yeah, I really do. I'm not kidding. I currently work on my current channel, the new upcoming channel. I work on it with AI every single day.
I know.
AI is my business partner. That is weird that you know that.
We do research, girl.
Well, that shouldn't be out there. That's just like having a camera in my home. Research, quote
It's a
unquote.
lot. It's a lot more boring than you think. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, there he is doing a push-up again. Okay, great.
So I make this channel to show here's what I'm capable of, and I send it to the guy, and I'm like, hey, I can edit, I can shoot, I can write. And eventually, and I'm like, also, I heard you're a millionaire. Can you just like hire me full time? AKA, do you have health insurance? Like, just let's go for it. And he did hire me, but it really that was the purpose of that channel, was not actually to build a following, but rather to be like, I think I could be really good at this. And it turns out that it's almost frustrating that it did pay off. But I will say to anybody that's thinking about doing it now, it's like, hey, that's actually, it's the number one career that a person in Gen Z or a young person wants, is to be a quote-unquote influencer. What is still undeniable, to your point earlier, is talent. And so I made the content, even in 3 videos, I made content that was better than anything anybody else is doing.
Okay, so we got many emails about this because, to your point, they're like, ask him how I start a YouTube channel and start monetizing. How do I become famous on YouTube? And the questions are so, that's not the question you should be asking. So through that, though, but what kind of early mistakes did you make by also doing this? You're like,
shouldn't you have a message first when you decide to do something? Like,
I know
what do you want to
exactly
say?
what my early mistakes are, which you're gonna appreciate in the fact that I have a very specific answer. Here's what you might not appreciate. This is the early mistake that you make if you do end up becoming successful. If you do become successful, the early mistake you make is that you built a channel that requires you to succeed. And what that means is let's hop over industries for a second. Let's imagine that you are a master baker. You are better than every vending machine out there that makes cakes. You are actually really good at making cakes. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to open my own baking shop. And that's what you know more than anything. And so you make the best cakes in the world, and your place takes off, and everybody gets in line to get your cakes. And you're like, I've started a business. I now sell cakes. And then it's time to be like, you know what, we're so popular, we should make a second location. Or we're so popular, we should be open 24 hours, 7 days a week. You yourself cannot do that. You'll try to, and you will fail. You also are not the best person at designing a bakery. You are the best person at just making this one kind of cake. And so that is the first mistake I know that I made, is that I was very good at making a certain type of video, and it required me to be at the helm. And that was a big mistake because the only options were I could clone myself in order to expand, or I could make people who could imitate me. And that also was a mistake. So I'm secretly, even though it's not a big secret, I'm building a new channel right now. And instead of doing it the way I did it before, which is like, hey, I'm going to aggressively make really, really good content, and I'm going to do 100-hour weeks, literally 100-hour weeks is what I was doing. It cost me my relationship in the long run, to be honest.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I went too hard, and I was in a 12-year relationship. That was year 3 of the relationship. Year 12.
Was it your PE teacher?
Yeah. Again, I am 25 years old. No, the person I was in a relationship with cited that time as the time that they felt like things went off because I just went so hard on that. Now I'm on day 1 essentially of my new version of a YouTube channel if I were to start today, and I'm building this for sustainability, I'm building this for repeatability, and I'm building this for franchisability, which means if this is McDonald's, it might not be, but if it is, it can show up anywhere in the country and I don't have to be at the helm. That was the biggest mistake I made the first time, was that I made it that I am the only person on earth that knows how to do this thing, instead of I know how to do something and I turned it into a system that I can teach somebody else.
I will say,
There's so much I wanna say
not
right now.
even having known you or met you before today.
You're like a magician. It's like, we don't know each other, correct? Yes.
See, it's a buddy. One of your channels that you created is one of the 5 YouTube channels that I subscribe to.
And he can barely power on his computer, by the way. He's got one of those old people phones where he just can dial.
I've got an iMac.
It's got a June bug or whatever, and it has a
Dial.
help 911 I've fallen
Is that what it's called?
button.
Makes that sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so clearly you know what you're doing.
That channel, New Rockstars, came out of the idea that
How'd you know?
I had a feeling that when people leave a movie, they feel like they want to be a little
Talk
smarter,
about it.
and they're a little bit like, hey, I think that I don't have the full experience of having seen that movie. And people are going to say, hey, did you see blank? And I'm going to be like, yeah. And I'm not going to know what to say about it because there's stuff I was supposed to take away from it that I didn't. And so I called it the concept of the lingering question.
I mean, the breakdowns, the here are the Easter eggs, and I won't name the person who does those videos, but
Barack Obama.
But exactly.
Barack Obama.
I go on freaking rabbit holes on those videos because
But-
I cried during Endgame, so let me just put it.
I mean,
I cried
many
because I
of
had to
us did.
finish it and I had to pee.
Wow.
But let me say something about the experience you also created with New Rockstars, and what I think you're feeling too, which we feel from the LGBTQ community. We become part of a community where we can nerd out. We can talk about stuff that we missed, but we can talk about it, and it's our safe space.
Yeah, how Star Wars is better than Star Trek.
Nope. I noticed there's a lot of Star Wars chat on
I'm
New
kidding.
Rockstars.
I'm
and I'm
so
like,
kidding.
No,
It's all the same.
but do you know what I mean? I think entertainment brings people together in so many different ways. Like even when we fight about Star Wars versus Star Trek.
I want to touch on something
please.
that you said, and it's your left thigh, and it's very near the goods. No, it's the fact that you connected it. The bad, the good, the
buyer's
good
market,
times,
is
the
it?
bad times.
It's the year of the bunny.
It's the facts of life. That's what it is. I want to touch on the fact that you connected the LGBTQ community to nerd culture, and what's really fascinating about that is that both of those things have they're being vulnerable about what they are interested in. And it's a big risk for them to go out on a limb and say, "Hey, this is something I like, and it helps define my identity."
Oh my God. Okay, so please, and then everyone else can fill
Nailed it.
it's my name on the kiosk, but
You are on the rocks.
but it's networks like New Rockstars, like conversations that we're having that have made being a nerd and being an LGBTQ cool.
Yeah.
We've seen this boom in out LGBTQ entertainers. We've seen this boom with sci-fi. Star Trek is now cool again. Star Wars is super cool again. Being a nerd is now cool.
Yeah.
It's because we've been able to come together and have these conversations and unite. Hollywood is like, oh yeah. But now we feel confident.
Oh, yeah. 10, 20 years
We're
ago, I would have
cool
never
again.
said, I'm a geek and feel very proud of it. Now I'm like,
and you felt
I
like you
buy
were alone when
toys,
you
I
did
buy
it.
comic books,
I would get beaten up
Weekly.
because of my love of Star Trek. When I was at Catholic school, I would
Did you
wear...
you had a full love of Star Trek? Was it
I have a
Star
storage
Trek Next
room-
Generation? What was it?
Original series. And
Really?
then Next Generation.
Wow.
So, dating myself again, my mom was raised as a Trekkie. Like, she saw the original episodes.
Interesting.
So, this was before we would have the midnight showings of films. So, the first time you could see a new film was at the 10:30 or 11-something showing. And every time a new Star Trek film would come out, I knew I would go to school. And I would know, the nurse would come in and be like, oh, there's a family emergency. Come out, my mom would be there, take time off of her 3 jobs, and our experience would be Star Trek.
oh,
That's amazing.
And that's 100% true, even through college. And then even with the reboot, we both called out of work to go see it. But it was about more than that. It was about,
Yeah.
like, that was our chosen family. We felt connected.
Yeah. Well, while you chug your current drink, because you're the host of a podcast that's called On the Rocks, and I'll wait for you to chug your current drink. I'll wait for it, waiting for it. Here
Honey,
it comes.
There's no chugging. I'm a gentleman.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna deep throat that ice. I
This wasn't part of
will
the pitch,
point
by the
out,
way.
yeah, that Star Trek speaks to a lot of people who feel like they're marginalized groups because it has this utopian future where it's like, oh, are you kidding? You think there's a difference between the color and the shade of your skin? There's like alien cultures out there.
But it's not utopian. Things are not perfect, even in this world.
That's true. Yeah.
And people have to earn their worth based on their talent and skill. But it
Yeah.
wasn't based on what alien they were. Or...
Especially if you get to the Romulus and Remus storylines in there, and you, God, you're fanning yourself immediately.
Girl, this is making me hot.
Yeah, but it does have a point where it's like if you watch those episodes, they purposely write it to be a joke of how similar the two concepts are, and yet it's like, oh, we are polar opposites, and it's like not really.
But let's talk about the original series. The first interracial kiss on network TV. They did a whole episode where the aliens were literally black and white, and they were not accepted by the other characters that were white and black. I mean, it was
Right.
really that. We saw a Russian on the bridge of an Enterprise.
Yeah, or I believe Uhura kisses Captain Kirk.
The first interracial
Yes,
kiss.
huge deal.
So, but I want to go back to your point of putting your brand and like nobody else can do it. You know, there is a sense of ego, and there's a sense that nobody can do what you do. And
It's wrong.
But it is your brand. We have like Paul Logan. We have Jeffree Star. We have these people. Even if we think that they're horrible people, they've still made their brand. And so I'm not so sure.
I
And
mean Logan Paul, which is a very fair mistake to
Whatever.
make because they're both first names, which is a very white people thing to do.
but do you know what I mean? It's like
Michael Davidson.
Chad Michael Chad, which is
Yeah.
every guy in Orange County.
And Murray is a name, Chad Michael Murray.
Well,
There's
we have our
3
own Murray.
names.
But what I'm saying is, like, people do grab onto your brand. And even here with this small show, even though it's not that small, you know,
It's fine. It feels good. Is the point?
no, but also, like, you know, when I try to hire a team, like, I do have somebody that does social media, I have all that, but I'm still such an egomaniac, yes, but also a control freak. But people love the brand because they know it's me. They know it's my voice. And isn't that, in this whole voice where everybody's putting out content on YouTube, aren't people kind of going back to the old-fashioned way of, like, they want to connect with you. They don't need all the edits and all of this. They want a different connection, especially after COVID. We feel isolated, and so they want a direct connection with their influencers.
I feel like there's a particular voice, if you'll allow me to interrupt. You have a message per se, like you do with your show. You know, your brand is before. There's a great quote, and I can't remember who the hell said it, but before you get on stage, have a message. Don't go up there and have nothing to say, because in social media now, we're saying stuff before we have anything to say. We're posting before we have anything to say.
But a shirtless Andrew Christian model is
But
going
you
to get more
still
interaction
have
than...
something to say when you post that shirt. Your message is, I want to be objectified. So there is a purpose. Here we go with this mic. Yeah. So anyway,
I think that it's worth looking at the fact that your average person. This is like, maybe it's sad. You say they want to hear what you have to say, and it's like, I don't know. I think they want to hear what they have to say repeated back to them. Right, like the average person is hoping.
Is that a hint as to your new channel?
Yeah, exactly. It's called Mirror. You're right.
No, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
but your voice is still your voice in it. You still have a determining, like, this is what I want to do with it.
I think no matter who you are, we can resonate with familiar themes across each other, and that is what I'm trying to teach people with my new channel. Which, by the way, are you ready for this? It's called.
Wait, everybody! This is exclusive. Drum roll, please.
Can we get an ass cheeks flap, please?
I bet you're great on dates.
I'm a great date. It's called Filmwise, and the concept is that I'm trying to teach you how to watch. Right, watch things the way I watch them, and then you're going to get them on the surface level, and you're going to get them on the deeper level. What you're watching, what you're hoping for, is that it resonates with you on something that you know to be true that has not been spoken out loud. It's the same reason why you like stand-up comedy that says, hey, isn't it weird when you go to the airport, you're wearing your socks, but you're at the airport, like.
Well, and Ellen DeGeneres built her whole brand on talking about the
Jerry
familiar.
Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
Familiar but different, right?
Yeah.
It's you're taking something that is universally true, but you're pointing out it's absurd. And I think that it's the same thing with what you're talking about, which is like you want to feel like you're not alone. You want to feel like this weird take you have is there. And here's what's fascinating. Here's how desperately you want that. You're going to listen out for it, and it's not going to be in agreement with you, and you're going to pretend it is. It's pretty often that I say something or I tweet something or whatever it is, and I get a response that's like, hell yeah, those woke idiots. And I'm like, I think we're on actually opposite sides. But people are desperate to not be alone. And so that's what I'm trying to teach people, though, to watch a movie. So, for instance, to try to make this episode very timely, The Last of Us is a... No, it hasn't come out yet. The Last of Us comes out on January 15th. And it's going to be a show. It's going to seem like it's a typical zombie show, right? But it's actually going to be about the mistakes that we make as we try to control things too much. We all try to be like, oh, that's perfect. Why don't we freeze time and say this is perfect? And that's what that Last of Us first episode is going to be about, is this idea that, like, I wonder if I could freeze things if they would stay safe. And the truth is they will not. If you try to freeze things, all you're doing is making yourself vulnerable to the things that happen outside of your control. That is going to be
also a Twilight Zone theme too.
Which are you thinking of a specific episode?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one where everything froze and then he broke the watch.
I'm
a huge Twilight Zone fan, like freak about it.
Right, or famously the concept of he finally has time and then his glasses break, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that concept of you think that as long as nothing changes that you can prepare for it is the concept of the first episode of The Last of Us, which is coming out on HBO on January 15th. I don't want to keep saying December. But either way, that is what I'm trying to bring to people is like, I don't care who you voted for in 2020. I don't care where you happen to be on January 6th the following year. But what is true is that you think that whatever it was your attempt at trying to protect and isolate a safety And then when it leaves that safety, things get in danger. And I'm going to speak to you and tell you, hey, you know what? Weirdly, this Hollywood liberal elite, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, they're going to tell you a story that is about that thing of what happens when you try to force people to accept your truth and hold it and not let anything else change it, that's not good either. I want you to relate to what is happening there and realize, man, that kind of reminds me of that time that I told my son everything's going to be fine as long as nothing changes. And that doesn't work either, right? It's like that's the whole point of fiction is here's your base truth and then here's your offshoot of what actually ends up happening. And we're going to have to adapt. And that's what Filmwise is trying to teach you. My new channel, Filmwise, is trying to teach you how to watch stories to better understand how to process your own life as it's happening to you.
Okay, a lot to unwrap here. Number one, first, you also said something.
Why did I decline on Grindr? It was because your whole point.
Honey, nobody declines on Grindr. I'm like, let's go to Panda Express. Every guy's like, yes. No, but you said like nobody wants to feel alone, and that somebody connected with you, even though they're like, oh, I'm against the woke, but they connected with you. That was the point I was bringing earlier when we tried to like be so much. So Filmwise, how do you watch a film then? I'm very curious because I know what you just said, which is like the business statement and it's the formal part of it. But I want to know how you watch a film.
You know what the easiest thing in the world to do when you're trying?
Wear sweats.
This is a cheat sheet. Yeah. It's just to sit there and lay back and realize what is difficult. You know, to your point of wearing sweats, right? You are currently, a lot of people might be only listening to the audio of this. Alex, you're currently wearing a bow tie. What do you think?
It's my brand.
What does that communicate to the rest of us?
So I will tell you,
Yes.
it's actually part of my safety. Like I said, I was raised on classic Hollywood films. And like, to your point, my grandma, always, I would wear a suit on the plane. I would wear a suit at SeaWorld. I would wear a suit at Disneyland. And it wasn't to show off because we weren't from these great means either. We weren't label people. But it was to show respect for yourself and show respect for those around you. I'm showing respect for people around me, but it's reflective of old Hollywood class. It's like, why not wear a bow tie? Is it really affecting you? Like, am I dying? No. It's like we're wearing sweats on the plane.
Here's what's really interesting, right? You're saying something by wearing that bow tie. What would be easier for you? It'd be easier for you to be dressed like Michael, right? Which is in the laziest thing I've ever seen anybody wear. I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm kidding. But he happens to be in a hoodie and a necklace and a t-shirt.
But it's a fitted hoodie.
And
it's
no.
color-coordinated. It's
And,
so good.
and honestly, his glasses match his hoodie somehow, which is very difficult to do.
And they're not even real.
No shit.
He just popped his eyeballs out for anybody who wasn't watching. But no, my point is that
eyes.
does your bow tie have meaning? The answer is yes, and the answer is it took effort, right? That's how I want people to watch film and TV, is to realize every single choice you see made. It's frustrating to watch this as a former poor person. It took $1 million for that choice to be made. So why did they make it? So why do you choose to wear a bow tie on this
It
program?
makes me feel so good.
It makes you feel good. It
And
makes
it
you feel your
also-
guests respected, and it's a slight reference to old Hollywood, is what.
But
it
it's
sounds
also like putting on slippers. I'm you know.
And it also
Like,
informs your
I'm not-
demeanor.
but I'm also not putting in affectation. This is how I
as a
literally
stage
am.
actor, you know,
I'll go to the
what
movies with you
clothes
and I'll wear
you
this.
wear inform, you know, how your body moves, how your body, you know, and
Body's
of
not
it.
moving, girl.
all of it.
and
but
when I come on here, I need to feel a little casual. I need to feel
Yeah, it's important
relaxed.
to you.
Otherwise, I'm like, I get in my head. I really
So-
do. If I came in here in a suit, I'd be.
yes,
that would
it,
be
it would
me.
be different. So both of you realize that you have audience members that are watching this thing, and they're taking from you that you take this seriously, and you also have a respect for old Hollywood.
I could
and
smell
they
it
have,
coming.
And they have a sense from you that you are purposely feeling laid back, and you're going to be off the cuff, and you're going to say things you wouldn't say normally. And it's trying to train people to watch film and TV that way, to be realized like, hey, you know what? That weird, stupid picture of Kurt Cobain in the background cost $1 million to get that there. A number of people had to work to get that there. I bet it means something.
Or to play that trail of music that we barely heard.
We had
cost
to
of
pay for
licensing.
the rights for that song of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
So then walk me through Filmwise. I'm going to go to Filmwise channel, and I'm going to
Filmwise
click.
debuts, by the way, on YouTube, youtube.com/@getfilmwise, and debuts on January 16th.
Is there a big party?
I mean, we can have one if you're going to host it.
Oh, can you imagine me on my phone alienating every movie?
Can I imagine you hosting a party? Yes.
Oh, well, that's what I do. I was telling. It could be
I
Walmart.
think,
I'd be like,
can I imagine you
"Welcome to
charging me
Walmart."
for that?
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Invoice real fast.
Yeah.
No, so I'm gonna go to Filmwise and I'm gonna click on something. And what is it that I'm gonna see? Is it a host? Because you said it was franchisable. Everybody gets their voice.
So what it's going to be, the franchisable element is the fact that we're going to take the fact that, yes, I happen to be good at watching something on a couple of different levels, but I'm not the only person in the world that can do that. And that has nothing to do with production, and that has nothing to do with post-production or paying people or filing your taxes correctly, which is very big for YouTubers.
Chris Isley. What?
I don't know who that is, but I know the Isley brothers, who also have had their own
Are you
issues.
some alien from like 1960? Aren't they Isley brothers from like Tony? Aren't they old?
Hey, Tony, you're old. Right?
Yeah.
But my point is more that it's not about having your take or your opinion being the thing that can't be repeated. It's the fact that, yes, you have a unique perspective. Detach that from the function of your company, right? And so to go into that YouTube channel thing for a second, it's like, realize that you're going to rely on other people. Don't attach. No artist is great at being a business manager of some sort. They could be, but it's not healthy
very
for them to
unique
be.
for
And
that.
it's not good for them to be, right? Let them focus on their
Absolutely.
art.
I find the business
That's
side
when you have
of
business
acting,
managers take your money, whatever.
Yeah. But
You know,
the
I'm
business
good at
side
the
of
other
acting
side of
is
this.
exhausts me just to think about. I mean, I'm not at a level to have management manage that stuff, but I know what
Yeah.
it would take if I
You
had
guys
to.
earlier were talking shit about social media, which I
No, not talking
took
shit.
umbrage with.
I'm saying that it's a pain in the ass.
No, but you know why it's a pain in the ass? Because that's not your art. Your art is to be
Well, absolutely.
performers. And somebody else's art
Do you
is
like
to
to do
use
social media?
You
Because
know what?
I
don't.
barely see you on Instagram.
You're complaining, but it's honestly because I'm not in good enough shape to maintain my current post. But really, the truth is, certain people see their social media as their art. You see art as you may be singing a song, you may be acting the role, but there's somebody else who's like, oh, I feel like I come alive when I post a social media post. And it's just trying to acknowledge that it's like, yes, you might be very good at that thing, but admit to yourself that that's not what you're here for. You're here for this one thing. Find somebody else who's here for that other thing. You okay?
I mean, I think there's like a whole other episode.
All right.
But I do want to get back
But
to
this.
new rock stars. We know it's become a force onto its own.
Sure.
I want to know, because you've been in it and then out of it, I want to know, with your decision, when is it okay to be like, okay, I'm done with this project, I'm moving on to something else? Because I know in entertainment, whether it's a TV actor who decides to leave this great TV show, they go to film, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. And they've left that behind. In your mind, with your experience, with what you've built and what you kind of headed into the unknown, you have no clue if this is going to work. When do you know that it's time to leave?
You don't, but it reminds me a lot
That's so
of something
scary.
that it happened. We happened to talk about it earlier, which is the concept of when you're on Saturday Night Live and it's time to go. I'm friendly with Bobby Moynihan. Ironically, why?
I loved him.
I'm friendly with him because of
career
the
hasn't-
Rockstars. I'm friendly with him because of the fact that he happens to be obsessed with our Star Wars content. He's
He's a Star Wars fan?
He's a huge Star Wars fan. I had a Zoom call with him where he showed me his Star Wars collectibles, and like, there's a whole bedroom in his house that's dedicated to his Star Wars collectibles. But
J'adore.
Bobby Moynihan, insanely talented person, and he did do Mr. Mayor not long ago. But him leaving SNL versus Keenan, right? Keenan has been in SNL longer than anybody else. That's
And he gets a few
level of
commercials, he
safety.
gets a few films, but
He also
not
had a
like-
TV show not long ago, but I bet you can't name it. Yeah.
Oh, Keenan, his name was in the title.
You're thinking of Keenan and Kel, which is
Am I racist now?
a show from
Oh,
it's
okay.
a show from Nickelodeon from back in the day. But he had a show not long ago. It was not Keenan and Kel. But the point is that idea of leaving, right? A.D. Bryant left recently, and she had that show called Shrill on Hulu.
That show was so good. If you haven't watched Shrill, watch every single episode. That is an arc. I was
Yeah.
really upset that it didn't get renewed, but maybe that's all that show had to be.
Maybe it's possible.
She was so good on it.
Scariest thing in the world is to succeed and leave that, right? But also, that's the only way to grow.
But she was so funny on SNL 80.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, is she the token curvy girl? And as funny as she was never highlighted the way that Kristen Wiig was, the way that Sherry Terry was, the same way that Kristen McKinnon
Real
was.
quick, only because she's never going to listen to this, I think it's very funny that I matched.
Hello, we have a very popular show.
I'm sorry, Sherry Terry is not watching.
She's on... she's on Andy Cohen's Serious...
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
I just have to. You're gonna want me to say this. I matched with her on what's the celebrity dating app?
Bumble?
No, the other.
Oh, there's
one.
the private one. You can't say it.
Yeah, I matched.
No, you can't say
I
it.
matched with her on that one.
Can't say it.
And I legitimately, she's like 52 years old, and I'm only
She's
15.
still hot. She could still.
And I
figure-
legitimately was like, I'd do it. Like, I'm down. But that actually is very similar to the concept you're talking about of like, how do you know when you're ready to go on a limb again? It's like
'Cause she
has
left.
utmost success, and yet at the same time is out there like, hey, do you want to love me? I'm one of the Spartan cheerleaders.
Wait a minute.
But
she
at the
has
same
had-
time, I
she's had-
want love.
She's had moderate success.
Yeah.
She left at the same time Will Ferrell left.
Right.
Will Ferrell has
Who?
done awful movie after awful movie, but he's considered still A-list after all these failures. Not the same as Sherry O'Terry.
But that's Sherry O'Terry is a great success. I mean, you know how a small percentage of all working actor people.
I'm not saying
like,
that she's
work
not talented, but
regularly?
I'm saying her
Well,
career.
He has a
I
point,
think it's-
right? Does your it's always very simple. Does your mom know who Will Ferrell is? Does your mom know who Sherry Terry is?
You know,
They're very different.
Those are the different levels of success, and I do think
Either way, which one of them would you bang? That's the question at hand.
neither.
Neither, yeah.
What? Are you guys kidding? I would bang every former. I'd bang fucking Chris Kattan. Like
Chris Kattan
maybe
was one of
Night
my
at the
early crushes,
Roxbury.
but he is so not straight. Don't run into him.
Dana
at a
Carvey.
club. No.
What?
How old are you? Are you like Quantum Leap, where you're like
Yes,
some different
yeah,
age and we don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
know?
I wish I was Quantum Leap. I'd bang Scott Bakula.
Well, because he was captain of the Enterprise, the first
Yes,
captain of the
that's
Enterprise.
true.
You don't even know that. You just pretended you did.
I do know that. What? That's the most recent.
I didn't
So
know that.
I want to go back to YouTube and new Rockstars. There was like a shift.
4 drinks in, by the way. I'm gonna say my co-hosts are 1 drink in. FYI. No,
Mo-
you're not
mother's
empty. Here,
driving.
mine is not empty. You're welcome to try it.
So, but I want to talk about new Rockstars did have a shift as to you guys responded to a first interview that really went viral, and then you guys kind of shifted what the point of view was. What I have to say about the channel is that it kept the integrity, and this is probably why you like it. You feel like you're intimate with something, even though with all
Michael,
these billions of views.
do you currently watch it?
Absolutely.
Did you watch it within the last month?
I watched it today.
Oh, what'd you watch?
Yeah, I watched. There was an announcement about where they had a group meeting of a lot of the hosts. Can I say any of the name of the hosts?
Sure, yeah, of
Okay,
course.
Eric Voss, who I
Sure.
adore. He does this, behind the scenes, all the little Easter eggs and breakdowns. And today there's I don't know if they was recorded today, but it might be a couple days old.
Probably not
where
today.
They
Yeah, I think
but-
he's on his honeymoon.
Yeah,
Alex, by the way,
but
did
they-
finally refill his drink.
but they were talking about where they're taking the channel and including
all these-
more
Oh,
kinds of movies,
yes,
more
yes.
like more breakdowns.
State of
not,
the Union
not
video.
not staying
Yeah.
right there. So yeah, today.
Interesting. Sure. So go ahead with your question.
Well, I was answering your question.
No.
All right.
I meant Alex. Sorry.
Is there no love there?
uh,
I feel a different energy, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to talk about it.
no, I'm very. How about this? Like anyone
Is
listening.
it okay for him to talk? About it?
He's looking
Okay.
at my publicist and he's like, "Is he allowed to talk?"
No,
about
I
this?
really want to know.
And it's like, I can state facts. No, it's very easy for me to talk about, right? Because it's like it's a channel I founded and I hired everybody there, and they have gone to do great things. And also, I'm building a new thing now. I do think that there were mistakes that I made personally in building that channel.
Do you want to share some of those as
Well,
like,
a big-
as like learning points?
A major one of them was that idea of that concept of like, hey, my bandwidth is full. Can we imitate me? And I think that was probably a mistake at a certain point where we talked about the
What
concept
does
of
that
the
mean?
baker.
Your bandwidth was full. I mean, I know what a bandwidth
It's like you don't
is
even have
peripherally,
time
but
I mean, not to
no.
put myself
What do
on
you
your
mean by
level,
what
but
does
like,
that mean?
Well, that
Bandwidth
thing of
is
the baker
full.
again, right? Where it's like, hey, I make the best cakes in the vending machine, and then can we have somebody who can imitate the cakes in the vending machine instead of like, how about they make pies for the vending machine? You know, like that was the
I love
start of
pie.
it. Yeah, I love pie too. I think now there is something to the fact that like it gets very complicated where you know what's very frustrating about it, to be totally honest, is the fact that I like that we have a work product that we produce. I don't know how often you guys read science papers, but you know that's a thing that gets put out, published constantly, is new papers on the, for instance, I read a paper today about the essentially the effects of the COVID vaccine boosters, right? That gets put out every single day. A lot of people don't read it. I feel as strongly about that as I do about whatever people are talking about film or TV. The weird thing that I have to accept is that there's this weird level of like fame that is attached to talking about film and TV, and I think that it affects the whole thing, and that makes things very complicated where it's like, oh, you being the person who delivers the Easter eggs or the commentary.
I will
wait a
say
minute,
no.
but they
So-
feel like family,
Fame.
like Maria Menounos. We see her everywhere. She feels like family.
I'm not
She's
familiar
like-
with who that is.
I won't say that I feel that way about that host. I like the content. It's fun.
Yeah.
And
But it's familiarity, right? Though.
he could
Sure.
be one of 1,000 other guys. But if your
Could he
delivery
be
is
though?
right,
Do you think that if it was somebody
I
else,
don't
you wouldn't
know.
care?
No, I'm
actually,
saying
yes.
it could be somebody else, and I could also enjoy it just as much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was an original host on an after recap show
A
network.
Buzzy show?
I wasn't buzzed. Actually, I was buzzed.
Yeah,
But
you
here's the
are.
thing: it's like, oh, we built the
For
show. It's like-
those curious, Google just the phrase "after buzz." and
No,
see
no,
what shows
don't.
up. Just
Um,
it's a phrase. It's just.
But
a
here's the
phrase.
thing: it's like audiences also are fickle, to your point. But when you're there, they do respond to you. Like we watch Mario Lopez on Extra, just
Sure.
because we like
Like
him
his
and
triceps,
and
yeah.
well, but there's like comfort that's there. But if he were announced tomorrow that he was retiring, I'd be like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
And then we watch the new person,
Right.
but they would have to be constant. It's about
Okay,
consistency.
here's a-
yeah, I
here's
felt that way
question.
when the Daily Show changed host to Noah
Right.
Trevor,
Oh,
who
that's
I
a really
think is
good-
Trevor Noah,
amazing.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
wonderful.
But he just
But I
left.
also, well, yeah.
Have you seen his booty? Oh.
Have we seen his booty? I don't. I
But
don't
at
think
first,
so.
when they changed, I thought, oh, is it going to be as good?
I have
Am
a
gonna
question
love
for
him as
both
much
of
as
you.
Jon Stewart?
Talk Soup.
But I
Remember
did.
Talk Soup?
before
I do.
Talk Soup.
before Alex outros us, I have
We're
a-
about that point.
Yeah. That statement says, I do not agree with the statements made by my guest today. No, I have a question for both of you. Say you had the ability to be famous but replaceable,
Never.
or not as famous, but people are like, well, I know the name of that person. Would you prefer?
I don't care about fame.
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Are you going to ask this on Filmwise?
No, it has nothing to do with anything I'll talk about. This is only
was
for
trying
on
to
the
sell your
rocks.
product, but that was great.
Well,
When
that's
it's
my
at
answer. I don't care about fame.
YouTube.com/@getfilmwise.
As long as
That's
as
interesting.
long as I get
That's
to
an interesting
continue, I have a love for my craft and just working consistently. That would be, that would be the cherry on the freaking cake of all I've worked towards. Fame, don't give a crap.
I feel
Yeah, I wanna
like
get
Alex might
paid.
have a different answer.
Well,
I just think it's very interesting, like leaving a legacy. Like we used to talk about Jerry Lewis. We talk about Betty Davis. We talk about all these people. But there's also a whole group of artists that died without the recognition that now we're
Totally.
like, oh, now they're famous and their names are forever. Are we going to care about Kim Kardashian in 100 years? In fact, she might be in a history
parts of
book
her
as
will
like,
still be. No, never mind.
well,
Still alive at that time in 100 years.
Shut up, Michael.
but do you know what I mean? And like, but what benefit am I going to reap from that?
So is
That's
it
a really
like
interesting
is
question.
it what you get to say, or is it the longevity of what you said?
For me, it's just like my brand. Like I want people to come to my tombstone.
It's what I get to do while
Spit
I'm.
on it, but you don't
while
care
I'm
because
still
they're
here.
there. Yeah.
King Cape. Okay, we're gonna finish up the show. Like we said, you don't talk a lot about your personal life, but
I'm happy to. It's just
But
it's
you-
not relevant.
Okay, but I want to know about that because in this era of social media, we share everything. We share who we're dating. We share. You identify as a bisexual man
Yes.
as a Latino,
Mhm.
but I don't see it on your Instagram. I don't see it as
I
part of
think
the
my
headlines.
Instagram says that I'm bisexual, or my Twitter definitely does.
You haven't posted. You posted once in the last month, and the last one was like a year ago.
Yeah, you.
Unless you blocked
so
me.
so help me understand what I'm doing wrong. Like,
No.
am
There's nothing wrong.
Am I not doing enough?
No.
My thing with the whole reason I came out as bi was not because I was like, hey, I want to sound, shoot out a flare. It was more I want people
That's right.
who are also bi to be like, hey, that guy that I didn't think was bi happens to be bi. Maybe it's okay if I say I'm bi.
But why is it even important?
Well, at that time, it was because my sister was talking major shit about gay people, and I was like, this is going to be very funny. This is going to be great when she's asking for me for money, and then I say, like, oh, by the way, I'm bi. That's why I did it at that moment, but also because I think there's a huge lack of bi representation in content where the only bi characters are, like, gay but retroactively made bi.
So we got many questions about bisexuality because it used to have that
Two.
like fake.
No, I'm kidding. No, go ahead.
We used to have this fake idea. I don't know when I came out, whatever. You said you were bi before you actually became gay because it was safer.
Yeah.
But in the last few
Right.
years, because so many people from entertainment have come out as bisexual,
Is
that
it
we've
common?
always, it's become very popular with
Interesting.
A-listers that are in straight relationships, but
Mm.
they're like, no, I'm bi. And it makes like, okay, then this is a normal thing. You can be attracted to both sexes.
Mm.
But it's still part of the headline. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Why is it so important that we talk about your bisexuality?
Interesting. Okay. There's this thing that
I'm not challenging you, by the way.
yeah. By the way, I think there's a major push for people to want it to be this like huge deal, and there's this major push for straights to have the proof that gays are secretly trying to make straights gay. And the truth is, no, we're not trying to secretly make straights gay, but also we are okay. We're secretly behind your backs. We're all like, yeah, everybody's a little gay, right? And we talk about that shit all the time.
But here's the funny thing: is like we gays are trying to make the bisexuals a little bit more gay, because like
yes, you are, yeah. But
That's a
also,
joke.
the straights are like, okay. I know somebody who was talking to me about the fact that their parent was talking about how, like, yes, you may have experimented in college, but that doesn't make you bi. And it's like, no, that's the point, is that you are so set on this, like, regimented, like, aggressive version of what is straight and what is gay, when it's actually easier to say we're probably mostly just bi. And so I'm actually curious. I don't know how much I come off as straight or gay or bi, but
well, and even that is like,
what?
it's like, are
Go
we
ahead.
passable or whatever? It's
I
such toxic.
Well, more. I wanted people to be
Language.
like, I knew that when they watched TV, I had only seen bi examples of people that I would have guessed were gay and not straight.
like Jack McFarlane and Will and Grace.
But there's
Yeah.
so many versions of it. I was just talking to my friend who came to watch.
That's a good point,
that
too.
I am. Sex with women is not off the table in the right circumstance. I've had sex with several women.
For them, it is. They're
Yeah,
like, oh,
no,
okay.
no.
He's a lot of work, and he wears
it's like-
flannel.
Exactly, but
I can't see where he is.
I don't consider myself bisexual. Like that is not out of the realm of
I'm
possibility.
aggressively
but
bisexual too.
but I consider myself gay because I
does
don't
that
think
mean?
I could have a relationship with a woman. I could do the do.
For me, it's the emotional
but-
connection. My mom is like, "Oh, is there hope?" She's like knitting booties.
Lord.
No.
Hey,
My
Mama
mom
Rose.
knows.
you
Like,
still have kids.
I hate children with
Who
every
doesn't?
fiber of my being.
No.
They
Straight
ruined
people hate
Disneyland.
kids.
There's too
too.
many of them.
No, the whole reason of coming out as bi, honestly, was like, when I came out as bi, I was in a straight relationship that I thought would last the rest of my life.
She's actually here.
Yeah.
Can you
Come
imagine?
on out.
JT looked over
yeah.
because
She
we do
just
our research.
Looks
you know
like a
we do.
man.
Behind curtain number 3.
Yeah. No, I legitimately thought I'd be in a straight relationship for the rest of my life, and the whole point of coming out as bi was so that people could be like, "Oh, that dude's bi? All right, yeah." Like, I guess I don't mind saying I'm bi because it doesn't mean anything else other than the fact that I might be open-minded. You know what's unusual? What's crazy is the person that I was with at that time has told me at times, they're like, I'm not 100% sure you're bi. I think you might be straight but open-minded. And I'm like, no, I think...
They heard you talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like,
okay.
I think you might be flipping it. I think that open-mindedness happens to actually be bisexuality, and people are so freaking scared of it that they won't label it that way. But it's like, I know for a fact I will 100% have relationships with women, and I will have physical relationships with men. And I
Did
have
you
no
see
issues
what you
with
just
that.
said?
What?
Relationships with women and
Yes.
physical relationships with
I
men.
know that's how my brain chemistry
Not
works.
emotional relationships with men.
That's
not bisexual.
I think it is, in my opinion. I think it is essentially that I can have sexual feelings.
We're Latino men.
toward
If there's a
men.
mailbox that's winking at us, right? If the red flag is up, we're like,
I think that you might be even further, though, on that concept of what does it mean to be bisexual? Because if I don't give in the fact that, yes, I can be sexually attracted, if not emotionally attracted, I have to pretend I'm straight, except on certain days of the week or under a certain amount of alcohol. Instead, it's actually like, no, I am fine with saying I want to marry a woman, I want to have a relationship with a woman, but the fact that I'm like, you know what, a dude is okay, that is technically bisexuality.
we are not okay. We are more than okay.
Sure, yes. But that is technically bisexuality. Don't be so afraid of labeling yourself that way. It's honestly the easier thing to label yourself as. Honestly, also, this is super legitimate because of the way Gen Z is. I love Gen Z. It's like being gay is pretty cool. I'm excited to be able to be like, I think I'm a little gay. And it's like, oh, great. Gen Z is on board.
I'm not so sure. I think we're going to take your card away real soon.
Which card?
I want to know what your message to new YouTubers is.
New YouTubers need to, okay, so the keys are always focus on your niche, which means like, what do you have expertise in and a special perspective on that nobody else has? Hyper focus on that. And unfortunately, just like how we were talking about the bi thing, how many people in this world, how many people are listening to this and don't resonate with what I just said, and how many people do? I think a number of people will be like, yeah, I think I'm pretty straight, except like, I don't know, a butthole's a butthole. And those people are what I call my niche. That's the same thing for YouTubers. Don't put this in a standard YouTuber course, right? There's an average person who doesn't. But it just means like speak to where you have expertise and you have authenticity, right? You actually care about what you're talking about. And then the other trick I give to people, and this actually is probably pretty useful information, is do you want... Oh, we're out of time? Okay, never mind. No, I'm kidding. No, do you have 52 episodes of that concept? If you don't, then that's probably not your format for your show, for your channel, whatever. Can you do that 52 times? Then maybe it is. And so just try to think, okay, I have a niche. My niche is, I'm looking right now, I happen to be looking at flavored water that is meant to be mixed with drinks. Okay, great. So that sounds like the concept of the intersection of healthiness and alcoholism. Maybe my niche is trying to be a fit bartender.
Yeah.
Can I do that 52 times? It's like, I actually might be able to do fit bartender 52 times. If I could only think about 10 times.
Would you?
That's not a bad niche, honestly. But if I could only do it 10 times, that's not a niche, right? That would be a bartender niche if I can only do it 10 times. So try to find your niche and then ask yourself legitimately, can I do it 52 times? Can I do it every single week? And if you can, that means not only, yes, you should do that, and that is a solid thing, but also you have to remind yourself, unfortunately, you're not that special, but in the good way, there are X number of people out there that feel exactly like you do. I want to be a bartender, and I want to be ripped. How do I do that? That's it.
Or they want to spend time with you every week.
And get drunk with you every week, because it's the only way to tolerate you.
Or Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
Filup, where do you want people to find and follow you?
Right now, you can always find me at Filup Molina, and I'll always say that my parents spelled my name wrong, so it's Filup. So F as in Frank, ILUP as in Paul, Molina. But my new thing is at Get Filmwise. And at Get Filmwise, it's going to be about the stuff that hopefully you're watching right now, right? It could be prestige television or TV like The Fabelmans, or it could be The Last of Us is coming out this week. You didn't like The Fabelmans?
Nope. talking about the struggles of middle-class white people. Fun.
It's tough, right? What was the last movie or TV show that really spoke to you?
White Lotus.
White Lotus,
two.
season 2.
Because season 1
Great.
was so bad, and it still focused on rich people, but it was so rich. I thought the storytelling was so amazing.
The main actor from White Lotus season 1, the hotel manager, is in The Last of Us. That's coming out, which I'm going
Openly
to
gay.
do in-depth analysis of, and he's openly gay in the show. And either
Will
way,
you bring him on our show?
yeah, that means I know him personally and I can demand his time. At Get Filmwise, we're going to show you how to watch these things and how to, honestly, all we care about, the most favorite sound in the whole world is your own name, right? We can't do that, but we can make you feel like you're seen in another way. That's what Filmwise is going to do, is show you how in film and TV, how to see yourself in there and learn more about yourself.
And your OnlyFans.
Does not exist. As hard as you try. As erect as you try.
Girl, I have so many comments.
As mid-level, semi-soft as you try.
Michael, what do you want to say to our audience after our whole talk about social media and everything?
I'm really hungry.
I said there should be snacks on this show, despite how bad they are for sound.
I want cake from a vending machine.
Yeah. Cake by the
Where
vending
can you
machine.
find me? Michael Vega ACTS on Instagram and the other stuff, and michaelvega.com website. Yeah.
Alex-
And in San Francisco, doing a stage read.
So exciting.
Oh, I'm sinking. Literally.
Yeah.
At the Eagle. You'll find it on my sites and stuff. So
Alex, is it
if you're-
possible for you to sing us out?
I don't think so.
Just a hint of it, of what you could expect at the green room.
I'll be loving you always. Thank you.
He's thinking.
But I've drank all day.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I'm not so sure. We are releasing clips later this week. No. Because I don't want to put a bad thing out there.
I guess I could.
So thank you, everybody. In addition to my cabaret on East Coast, On the Rocks will be in San Francisco and Chelsea Table and Stage in New York in April for an evening on the Lanai, a behind-the-scenes show with Golden Girls writer Stan Zimmerman. Also, look for us taking the stage at Unleashed LGBTQ Dallas in September. Details coming soon. And that's our show, folks. Next week, we have Real Housewives of Orange County ex Bronwyn coming to talk about what really happened about her experience on there. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing the show for you for free. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. Most importantly,
Can't help it.
stay tipsy.
What an funny girl.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.